Today with this grandmother, you will learn about how to improve communication and understanding in relationships. If you want to discover the best advice a grandmother could give you, stay until the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more videos like this. People change, but they do so at their own pace. If you love someone, you must be willing to accompany them in their process, not push them. My husband, for example, had the habit of not showing his emotions much. It took me years to understand that it wasn't that he didn't love me, but that he simply didn't know how to express it. Little by little, with patience and love, we learned together to communicate better. Now let me talk to you about one of the most important pillars in any relationship: respect. The bad thing about losing respect is that it's very difficult to get it back. Once you cross certain lines, trust and admiration can crumble. So, never let anger or frustration make you say or do something you might regret later. Respect is not only shown in the big things but also in the everyday details. How you speak, how you listen, how you value the other person's opinions and feelings. And finally, I want to leave you with this reflection. The bad thing about not valuing what you have in the present is that you could lose it while waiting for something better. Happiness is not found in an idealized future or in nostalgia for the past. It is here in the now, in the little things. In the hug at the end of the day, in the smile shared for something trivial, in the simple fact of knowing that you have someone by your side. So, dear, remember that relationships are constant work, but they are also one of the greatest sources of joy and growth in life. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because in every mistake there is a lesson, and in every lesson there is an opportunity to love better. In the end, what really matters is not being perfect, but being sincere, compassionate, and willing to learn. Because love, like life itself, is a journey, not a destination. One thing I have always believed is that the bad thing about not cultivating empathy is that you end up living in a bubble, oblivious to the emotional world of others. Empathy is not just understanding what your partner feels. It is also making an effort to see it from their perspective. I remember one time when my grandson, who was recently married, came to see me all frustrated because his wife was upset with him and he did not understand why. "Grandma," he said, "I told her it was not that big a deal, that she should not be so upset." Then I explained to him, "Son, what you consider not that big a deal may be very important to her. If you just try to minimize her feelings, you are closing the door to understanding. Instead, ask yourself why it affects her so much and try to put yourself in her shoes." And speaking of putting yourself in the other person's shoes, another thing I would like to tell you is that the bad thing about focusing only on your needs is that the relationship becomes unbalanced. Love is not a contract in which you give only to receive something in return. It is an act of generosity. Of course, that doesn't mean you should neglect yourself or set aside your own needs, but it does mean finding a balance. If you both put the well-being of the other as a priority, something beautiful happens. You both end up being cared for. I also want to mention how dangerous it can be to let pride control your actions. The bad thing about pride is that it can separate you from the people you love. I have seen many couples who let pride drive them apart. Neither wanted to give in, ask for forgiveness, or accept that they had made a mistake. But, darling, what good is being right if you lose someone important in your life? Sometimes a simple "I'm sorry" or "I understand how you feel" can break down walls that seemed impossible to overcome. Now let's talk about unrealistic expectations. The bad thing about expecting your partner to be perfect is that you will inevitably be disappointed. No one is perfect, not you, not me, not the person you love. Learning to accept someone with their flaws and virtues is one of the most important lessons in life. If you want to discover the best advice a grandmother could give you, stay until the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more videos like this. But this doesn't mean accepting behaviors that are harmful or disrespectful. It's about understanding that true love isn't finding someone without flaws, but learning to love someone despite them. And here I want to pause for a moment to talk about the importance of self-care. The bad thing about forgetting about yourself in a relationship is that, eventually, you'll run out of energy to give. Sometimes, in the rush to care for others, we forget that we also need to take care of ourselves. Take time for yourself to do what you love, to reflect, to grow. A person who feels fulfilled with themselves has much more to offer in a relationship. One last anecdote before I conclude. Once, a friend of mine told me that his wife always asked him to be more affectionate, but he said it wasn't his style. "It's not that I don't love her, Grandma. It's that I don't know how to show it," he confessed to me. So I asked him, "Have you tried to learn how to do it, or have you simply resigned yourself to the fact that it's not your thing?" Learning to express love in the way the other person needs it doesn't mean changing who you are. It means growing. And growing together is one of the greatest gifts a relationship can give you. So, darling, always remember that love is a constant learning process. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because they are part of the process. The important thing is to be willing to listen, to change, to ask for forgiveness, to value and to care. At the end of the day, love is not about grand gestures or perfect promises. It's about being there through thick and thin with a willing heart and a willingness to keep learning. Because, as I always say, relationships are not built in a day, but with dedication, patience, and love, they can last a lifetime. Finally, I want to remind you that relationships are like a garden. It is not enough to plant the seeds of love and wait for them to grow on their own. They need constant care, patience, and dedication. There will be sunny days and stormy days. But if you make an effort to cultivate respect, empathy, and honest communication, the garden will flourish. So do not be afraid to face the challenges of life as a couple. Learn to listen, to observe, to give in when necessary, and to defend your values calmly and firmly. Remember that a healthy relationship is a constant exchange, a give and take in balance. There is no such thing as a perfect couple, but there is a joint effort to build something meaningful and beautiful. Take these words with you and apply them in your daily life. Because in the end, dear, what really matters is not always being right or winning every argument, but building an emotional home where both can feel safe, loved, and understood. That, my son, is the true treasure of life. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. Leave a comment to share your opinion and we'll take it into account for future videos.